You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Well, good evening, Radio 1 listeners. Thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show as we continue to celebrate our 15th anniversary this month of being on Radio 1 Spirit 1340 WYCB. We are having today our guest, Dr. Julianne Malvo, who is going to talk politics and the economy for us again. And in our second half, we will have our Minister Paulette Pierce Holloway. She will be sharing about a new book that's been released that you'll be able to purchase called Things My Daddy Said, right after the Father's Day weekend. So we will hear from her after our commercial break. But let's go to Dr. Julianne Malvo first. Dr. Julianne is a speaker extraordinaire, and she travels all around the country, and I want to encourage you to call on her if you need a speaker, because she can speak in the churches and everywhere else that you need. And she also has been the president of a university, and she's a dean. So she has her PhD in economics. So, Dr. Julianne, talk to us about politics.
Absolutely, Lindy. I hope you're doing well. This is Juneteenth week. We celebrated or commemorated or whatever we did. I'm not sure we celebrate Juneteenth because even though people talk about emancipation, on June 19th, 1865, people had already been free for 2.5 years. They just found out late in Texas. That's number one. But number two, what we also need to be concerned about is the fact that freedom was not free. Shortly after so-called emancipation, white soldiers, Confederate soldiers, attacked black Union soldiers in uniform in 1866 because they could. As a result of that melee, it's not even a melee, they say it was a riot, but when they say it's a riot, it usually means white folks started it, not black folks. But in any case, 5 black women were raped. They ended up testifying before Congress, and so many other things happened. But this Thursday was indeed, I'm getting my days mixed up. No, Wednesday. Wednesday was Juneteenth, and we are grateful always to President Biden. It's now a national holiday. It's a federal holiday. Federal offices are closed. The post office is closed, was closed. And so that's a small step forward. So let's just keep the Juneteenth joy. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Now, Thursday actually was the longest day of the year. It's a summer solstice. It happened on Thursday, July 20th. And it really doesn't mean a lot. Some people are non-religious to celebrate the solstice as a holiday, but it's just worth noting, and especially in light, Lyndia, of the weather. And I know you're saying, why is she talking about the weather? She's not a weather person. She's an economist. But this hot weather has all kinds of economic implications. There are no rules that govern. If you work outside, you're not entitled. There's some legislation now, but you're not entitled to breaks. So you can work in that 92-degree sun, and you get, 15-minute break here, 15-minute break there, and maybe a lunch. Can our bodies withstand that? So the heat this whole thing with heat is all connected to labor as well, to workers. And so we need to keep that in mind. There are 270 million people who will experience temperatures above 90 degrees this week. 270 million people. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of heat. So we just have to be on the lookout for it. And people, again, I'm neither a weather person nor a nutritionist. But hydrate, please. Just hydrate and stay inside when you can. Those are just important things to do. I'll have to tell you, Lindy, your friend, that would be me, is a fool. I tried to walk a 5K in Tulsa, Oklahoma, because I just thought I could. I thought I was 25 and I could walk a 5K. Didn't carb up the night before, didn't eat that morning. Well, I made 3K. So I'm not that bad. But everybody said, why did you think with your old behind that you thought you could walk a 5K? I said, well, I just believe I can fly. But anyway, lessons learned.
If you had prepared a little bit, you could have made those other 2 miles.
I think I could have. I could have.
You could have.
But anyway, people, be careful. 270 million of us. Washington, D.C., we're going to have a hot weekend, and maybe we won't, but that's what it's looking like, the Eastern Seaboard, and so this is a season to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Congress basically, the Supreme Court said that a congressional law about bump stops. Bump stops are a device you can put on your gun to make it fire more rapidly. It was used in Las Vegas when 50-some people were killed. Congress immediately stepped into action and said bump stops should be illegal. Well, the Supreme Court said no. And guess who wrote the opinion?
Cool.
Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas. Are you surprised?
Yes.
So Congress is rushing back to try to fix this, but meanwhile, aren't we all sick of all these mass shootings that are happening all over the country?
Mm-hmm.
Are we all sick of them? So this man, don't get me started. I'm not going to even delve into the mind of such a human being. Let's just simply say, if you care about gun control and about these mass shootings, reach out to your member of Congress. I know everybody listening is not in D.C., and Eleanor Holmes-Gordon always does the right thing, but there are others, and make sure that they understand what the ramifications of this are. Mm-hmm. Now, on Tuesday, President Biden issued an executive order making it possible for spouses of legal citizens who happen to be undocumented to become legal citizens. In other words, you're a citizen, you're born here or whatever, you're married to someone who is undocumented, who's illegal. That means that person can't work legally, and there are a whole bunch of other things they can't do. Now, President Biden has basically freed up about 500,000 people who are married to legal citizens but are not legal, and perhaps as many as 50,000 children. There will be a process. He announced it today. He announced it on Tuesday, but there will be a process that will be announced later for people to apply. It's going to, of course, be a lengthy process, and many are advised to get lawyers. But at the same time, this is a positive step for immigrant folk.
Yes,
now, on international front, Putin, Soviet President Vladimir Putin, has gone to North Korea. He wants to get some military aid for Russia to fight Ukraine. But one might say, why is this interesting to us here in the United States? Because this is the beginning of an anti-West coalition. If you get China, North Korea, Russia, you only need a couple more to really challenge the United States in terms of our world dominance. Now, many of us will argue, among myself, do we have to be world dominant? But the answer is we don't have to be Russia dominant. And that's what Putin is going for. You should look at this chess game he's playing with hostages, a Wall Street Journal reporter who done nothing wrong, but he's now being tried. And, of course, once he's being found guilty, like with Brittany Griner, they start doing a prisoner exchange. So we just need to pay attention to the international things because, the United States is weak and so are African-American people. Mm-hmm. This is a funny one, but I still want to lift it up just for a moment. Vivek Murthy has released a paper. He's the Surgeon General that says that social media is as dangerous as alcohol and tobacco for children. So he's suggesting that parents do a better job of monitoring their children's social media. And, of course, that's a good thing and a good point, but somebody needs to mind grown people's use of social media too. Do you know? In any case, it's something that he's put out there that he's concerned about, and we're going to hear a lot more about it. Now, I want to go to North Carolina for just 1 second. They have a Republican black man, Mark Robinson, who is about as crazy as Cootie Brown. Republicans hope because he's black and because there's a high percentage of black people in North Carolina that he might pull it off. However, this man questions the veracity of women who've been raped. He says, "Oh no, maybe they made it up." He delights in being controversial, and he doesn't think that Harvey Weinstein should be punished. So using him to get Republicans to the governor's seat in North Carolina may backfire. There's a Democratic governor in there now, and it's very likely that Mr. Robinson's foot in his mouth will also be his foot out the door.
All right.
One more time.
Bye. We're going to our commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment. Thank you, Dr. Juliana.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington Informer religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired." But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at washingtoninformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it, be inspired.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. We are back from our commercial break now for part 2 of today's show. We are going to have now Minister Paulette Pierce Holloway Rush. And I don't know if she's a different title than minister, but I know her as Minister Holloway, but I know she's a preacher. But she has written a new book called Things My Daddy Said. And I tell you, I've been reading it, and some of it is good. I haven't finished, but I love what Paulette's father has said about how we waste money and things that we do that are ridiculous. Paulette is a speaker. She's a preacher. She travels around the world, and I'm not looking at your bio. She used to be a member of our church at the All Nations Baptist Church, and I think it was 10th Street Baptist too. Was that your church?
Springfield Baptist.
Springfield Baptist Church in Washington, D.C., but she's now married to the congressman, and his name is Congressman Bobby Rush out of Chicago, Illinois. He's retired, but she got a chance to enjoy being the first lady doing what the wives of congressmen do, because I helped her out with the Congressional Black Caucus. And she's enjoying her life being the wife of a preacher, a pastor in Chicago, former congress member, still a politician. So I say that to say I don't want to use up any more time. I want to get her started. And I love Paulette. She's written this book, which is very appropriate that we're doing it around just Father's Day, was just yesterday, past weekend. It's called Things My Daddy Said. So Paulette, say hello and tell us a little bit about this book.
Hi, Lyndia. Thank you so much. As always, I can count on you to give me an opportunity to share some insight that may be in my heart, or in this case, a new book. So thank you so much. You know, I love you, and just appreciate you as a friend.
Yes.
But let me just tell you a little bit about this book. Now, over the years, I mean, since I've been at least adult age, I have been saying stuff that my daddy says. And when I talk, if people get to know me, they'll talk to me, they'll tell me something. If it sounds a little bit absurd, perhaps to me, or something like that, I might say, Daddy would say so and so and so. So I have done this to people over the years, and people will say, girl, you need to write that stuff down. You need to write down the stuff you tell us your daddy said.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was in Rwanda several years ago with my husband. We were on a trip there, and he had I don't know, it was some kind of a gathering anyway, and the young people that were with us, there was a young man with us, and he was sitting beside me on the bus that was transporting us. And in his thick African accent, he was asking me questions about myself. And I said, well, my daddy told me a story one time when I was in trouble like this. Whatever the situation was, reminded me of the situation I had been in. So I shared the story with him. Oh, my goodness. The young man went crazy. He says, Mom, in his, Rwandan accent, you need to write it down. You need to write it. I was like, yeah, right. Okay, whatever. Moved on. But it has been that kind of experience until now. It's been about 2.5 years ago. The Lord woke me up out of my sleep and said, write the book. And I went, oh, my God. I sat right up. I keep a pad and pen by my bedside in case, I wake up with something I want to record. And I jumped up. I grabbed the pad and pen. And in less than 15 minutes, I had jotted down more than 12 sayings.
Wow.
And I said, wow, okay, Lord. So, I got busy, and I was doing what he told me to do for a little while. And then I kind of got busier and didn't do it, and it kind of got away from me. And then last year, as I was writing, I had gotten up steam again, and my son passed in March of last year, and so that kind of threw me a little off of my game. So I had I got about 14 sayings written. I ended up having about 22 of them. And so I just didn't get back to it last year like I should have. Like I said, kind of just, got off my square a little bit. And then this year, and this part of the story is so amazing to me. This year, on the 7th day of February, it was a Wednesday morning, the Wednesday before Valentine's Day, I was asleep. And all of a sudden, I woke up and I heard, finish the book. And it was the kind of tone where, your parent uses when they've told you to go clean your room and you didn't go do it yet. It was that kind of a tone. I went, okay. I got right up.
You knew
and
you
I
had
ran
to.
down, and I was like, this is it. I'm in trouble now with Father. So I ran down to my little space. I have a space I call my sanctuary in our house. And I ran down and I sat down and I did my little devotion time and I prayed so I could kind of get myself together. And as I was finishing up my prayer time, I heard it again. And you kind of got to know the Lord in me. Rarely does the Lord tell me the same thing twice. I'm just not that kid. If he tells me, hey, I'm going to do it. I might whine a little, but I'm going to do it. But when I got up from my prayer time, he said it again. But this time the tone was, finish the book. It was like, it was a sweeter, less authoritative sound. Like, okay, God, I got it. I'm on it. So that day, Wednesday, the 7th of February of this year, 2024, I sat down to my computer. I told my husband, I'm about to go into hibernation. Don't even talk to me. I got to finish this book. And I worked all day into the night until I was totally drained. I got all the way to the last chapter, and I couldn't finish because I was just tired. So on the morning of February the 8th, that Thursday morning, I woke up with finished the book in my heart. I got up and I finished the book. I did the last chapter, and I was done. And it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I said, okay, God, I don't know what to do now. I don't know where to go. I did what you told me, and I'm kind of fussing, whining, a little bit to the Lord because I didn't know what to do because I've self-published 2 other books that cost a lot of money to self-publish. So I was like, God, I'm not really trying to invest that kind of money in this, all that. So I called a friend of mine in D.C. who had done a book 2 years ago where I was one of the contributing authors on this anthology. You know her, Alethea. Lyndia, you know Alethea?
Yeah.
So I call her, and I'm talking to her, And while I'm talking to Alethea, a call comes into my phone. And, on your cell phone, you can see, the name come up. And it said Studio of Books. I'm like, I ain't never heard of no Studio of Books. This is some blasted, telemarketer trying to get on my nerves. So I say, Alethea, hold on. There's somebody calling into my phone that says Studio of Books. I'll be right back. I'm just going to answer to be polite. So she held on. I talked to the lady at Studio of Books, and she's trying to talk me into actually taking my other book that I've done, Thieves of Intimacy, and using that to kind of put it back on the market. I said, ma'am, look, I don't know who you are, but if you're legitimate, I should be able to call you back because I'm on another call and I'm talking really fast. So she said, no problem. So she gives me permission to call her back. So I go back to Alethea. She's acting so crazy on the phone. I said, what is wrong with you? She says, girl, I Googled these people while you were gone. This is a publishing company. I'm going, stop playing with me. Stop playing. It turns out, I'm like, God is so amazing, Lyndia. He knew
set it all up
that he would absolutely, he had the publishing company waiting to call me, and he knew I needed to finish the book in order to be able to have a conversation with these people. So that set this whole stage for this book to be published. They knocked this book out in about 3 months. From start to finish. Editing covers the whole thing. And it has just been such an amazing, amazing journey from that part. But now that the book is written, the feedback that I'm getting, I mean, literally this morning, we have a lady coming in to help us do some things. She bought the book last week from me out of my house. And she came in this morning, Ms. Thrush, I just got to bow to you. She said, this is an incredible book. She said the first chapter got me. She said, she said after all your money's in your cabinet.
That's the one I wanted to talk about because I read some other ones, but that one stood out the most.
She said that one hooked me. She said, so you get, so just let me just stop because you can tell I'm excited because this has just been such an amazing journey for me. But the reason I think that I was so motivated after the Lord just kind of plucked my back of my neck, the reason I was so motivated is because when I started looking at the sayings, I thought these things can apply to everyday life for anybody.
Yes, it can.
This is not just some nice memory I have of my dad, woo woo woo. No, this is practical application life skills stuff.
Oh yes, he was speaking into the real. He was speaking out to all of us.
Absolutely.
Tell them this one about your money is in your cabinet. Now, I don't waste my money doing that, but I know a lot of people do because I've never been one of those that buy everything because it's a group of stuff on sale. I haven't. I usually buy one because it's just me. But many people act like they got to have the sale and get them all.
Well, see, again, mind you now, at that point now, I was a very young bride and very young mother. I wasn't even 20 years old yet at that point that conversation happened. And because my husband then, he was making enough money to take care of us, but, we didn't have any great big, loot hanging around on the corner. So I was always penny pinching. That's what I knew to do, penny pinch. And so when I would go to the grocery store, and again, we lived in, somewhat of a rural area, when you go to the grocery store, you kind of stock up when you live in the country. So those things kind of influenced my decision. So I'm in the store, and again, I to this day, I'm almost positive that it was Carnation evaporated milk because that was the kind my grandmama used. But if it wasn't that, if it wasn't that, it was creamed corn because she taught me how to make corn pudding out of a creamed corn in the can. So those two things I used to do a lot. So I bought 4 cans, and I ran short. I didn't have enough money afterwards to do some other things I needed to do. And Daddy was notorious for just dropping by, checking on me, seeing how we were doing, whatever. And he came that day, and I needed $20. So, and my deal with my dad was I don't care what I asked him for. He always came through. He was just that dad. And $20 was nothing for him, But he also always had some kind of a story. Used to get on my nerves. Like, just, come on, just give it to me. But I always got some story. So I'm putting away my groceries, and he's standing there, and he sees me putting all these cans in the cabinet. So in the midst of my asking for $20, he goes, how many cans girl you got right there? 4. Well, why do you have 4 cans? I said, because Daddy, they were on sale for $1. He said, well, did you need 4?
I went, no, I just needed one. But they want to say, well, would they have sold you just one? I said, well, I don't know. I guess so, but I didn't ask because it was. He said, baby girl, you don't need my $20 because all your money in your cabinet. He said, if you didn't need but one, why would you buy 4? It's like, it went on sale. It'll go on sale again.
Yes,
like,
yes.
It had never occurred to my thinking that I was literally tying up money that I could be using with stuff sitting on my shelves in my cabinet. It just never occurred to me. That one encounter literally changed my life. It taught me how to be a better steward of the money that God was giving to me. I mean, that was, to me, stewardship 101. And from that day,
because it surpassed the kitchen. It went into all phases of your life, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I mean, and I still live by that rule today.
Paulette, tell them, because we only got a 30-minute show, tell them how to get a copy.
Okay. Well, if you want to do something online, the book is available on Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and also the Studio of Books website. So you can get it any way like that, even though I am actually planning a book signing in D.C. Actually, I'm looking at the last Friday in July. So, people who want to just come and see me, just stay on the lookout, and I'll make sure I get the information to you, Lyndia, so that you can let the listeners know. But so they can certainly, and if they order it online and they still want to come to see me personally at the book signing, I will sign their copy. But the book is only $11. It is an easy read. If you don't stop and take notes at every saying, you can read the book in half an hour easily. Yes, if you wanted to read it straight through. But I guarantee you'll stop and you'll want to jot down some notes.
All right. Well, July 26th is that Friday, and Paulette will be here, and she get me the information. I'll announce it before we get to that date, so listeners can read about it. And come. I thank you for being my guest today, Paulette. Our time ran out so fast because you had the story was ready. That's okay. It's all right. I'm going to go to my close. You give your close, and then I'll close the show.
Okay. Well, I want to encourage people that if they choose to buy this book, to take a look at these stories and just think about life and how any one of these sayings can apply to real life in their lives today. Okay.
All right. Thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you for having me.
And this is my anniversary month, Paulette. I announced it at the beginning of the show, but in case listeners might have tuned in late, we've been on the air 15 years at Spirit 1340 WYCB. And I was very choosy about who I had on my show during the month of June because, I consider y'all my best people for my anniversary. So I thank you for being in the month of June.
I am honored.
Next week, we'll be back for our last show for the month. And I thank Paulette for being my guest, and Dr. Julian Malvo is on every week as well, talking about politics. I always close with this. Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect, so be careful what you send out. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. From the Lyndia Grant Show, I am your host, Lyndia Grant. Until next week, good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.